There once was a boy named David. He lived in a small town with his mother and father. They had a tiny house near a quiet river. Every morning, David's father went to work at a factory. David's mother stayed home to cook and clean. David went to a local school. It was not far from his house, so he walked there each day. The walk was nice, but David always felt very sad. He did not feel happy with his life. David was born with a weak body. He was shorter than most kids his age and got sick easily. Some days he had a bad cough or felt too tired to play. He looked in the mirror and did not like what he saw. He felt skinny and weak. Other children sometimes teased him at school, calling him names or laughing at his thin arms. David tried to ignore them, but his heart felt heavy. He wondered why he could not be like the stronger boys who ran fast and jumped high. His mother and father loved him, but they did not always understand how sad he was. His father would say, "Be strong, David," and his mother would say, "Eat more and get healthy." But David felt alone. He thought nobody understood the pain in his heart. He also felt guilty for feeling this way because his parents worked hard. They gave him food and shelter, yet he did not feel grateful. Inside, he felt empty and lonely. When David became a teenager, he had a big breakdown. One night as he lay in bed, he burst into tears. He asked himself, "Why can't I live with myself?" It was a strange question. He kept repeating the words in his mind. "Why can't I live with myself?" Suddenly he noticed something odd. He was saying "I" and "myself" as if there were two different people. He thought, "I cannot be two. Who am I really?" He felt very confused and scared. Then something incredible happened. David felt a warm, bright feeling inside, like a soft golden light filling his chest. He felt all his fears and sadness melt away for a moment. It was as if he became one with the air, the sky, the river, and the trees. The walls around him felt like they vanished. David had never felt so calm and peaceful in his life. He forgot about his weak body and his unhappy thoughts. He felt only love, joy, and a sense that he was part of everything. This wonderful feeling did not last forever. The next morning, David felt like his old self again, but a spark of that peace stayed deep in his heart. He knew he had touched something special. He was not sure what to call it, but it felt like a deep truth. He did not talk about it with his parents because he feared they would not understand. Instead, he kept this memory safe inside him. Over the years, David slowly grew into a man. He found a job in another city, got married, and had a son named Luke. Life was not always easy. There were bills to pay, and some days were stressful. But David never forgot that night when he felt one with everything. Sometimes he would sit quietly and close his eyes, remembering the warmth in his heart. It gave him strength when he felt weak or tired. Luke grew up fast. When Luke reached his teenage years, he also felt sad and confused, just like David once did. Luke worried about his future. He worried about fitting in and being good enough. David saw the pain in his son's eyes. He remembered his own hard childhood. He wanted to help Luke, so one evening they sat down for a long talk. They sat on the porch with the sun setting behind the hills. David said, "Son, I used to feel like you. I felt alone. I hated my body. I thought I was not good enough. One night, I asked myself, why can't I live with myself? Then I realized I was talking about I and myself like two people." David paused to see if Luke was listening. Luke nodded slowly, curious about his father's words. David continued, "That night I felt something amazing. It was like a soft light in my heart. I felt like I was connected to everything, the trees, the sky, the ground. It felt like my worries vanished. I want you to know that feeling is inside you too. It never really goes away. You just have to look for it, like looking for the sun when clouds hide it. Luke did not fully understand, but he felt a little better. He hugged his father. He started thinking more about who he really was. Sometimes he closed his eyes at night and tried to feel that peaceful light in his heart. He still had struggles, but he felt less alone. He knew his father understood. Years passed, and David grew old. His hair turned grey and his step became slow. Luke watched his father get weaker. One sad day, David passed away quietly in his sleep. Luke felt deep sorrow. He cried for many days, missing his father's gentle voice and kind smile. He wished they could talk one more time. He wished he could hug him again. Then, one evening, Luke sat by the river, where David used to take him for walks. He remembered his father's story about I and myself. He remembered how his father felt connected to everything. Suddenly, Luke felt a strange, warm wave inside his chest. He breathed deeply, and it was as if he could feel the sun, the sky, and the flowing water all at once. He felt calm and full of love, and tears rolled down his cheeks. Luke understood then what his father had tried to share. In that moment, Luke felt that he was not alone at all. He felt part of the gentle wind and the glowing sun. He realized that the same peace his father spoke about was also in him. It had always been there, waiting for him to notice. The real gift from his father was this understanding, this light in his heart. Luke stood up and walked back to his home. He still missed his father, but he did not feel empty anymore. He carried his father's words with him. He promised to remember that day and to share it with his own children someday. And each time Luke felt sad or afraid, he would close his eyes and think of that golden light, the feeling of oneness that made him feel strong and safe. In this way, David's story lived on through Luke. The boy who once asked, "Why can't I live with myself?" became the man who helped his son see the light that shines in every heart. Though David was gone, his words and his love never died. They stayed alive in Luke's mind, guiding him through the storms of life and helping him find peace in each new day.